healed. Then I saw his clothes and he came and he sat next to me.
So that means you had died, literally.
Literally, I had died. I remember I was laying there down and I could hear Grace screaming.
Thank you so much, viewers. Welcome to this program that is powered by Jesus, the Center Gospel Teaching Lifestyle. Today is Testimony Day, and we are privileged to have one of us. And remember, your host, Kevin Moshagi. Thank you so much. Karibu.
Asante.
Yeah, to tell us your name.
My name is Mary Talash.
Mary Talash, yes.
Yes, Mama Nathaniel, Precious,
Wow.
and Angel.
Wow, 3 children.
Yes.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing. Karibu sana. Welcome to the program.
Asante.
Today you have a testimony. Kindly tell us more about your testimony.
Yes. My testimony begins when I was still a very young child. I was taken care of by my auntie and not my parents. So out of it, I developed a disease that most people call it ulcers.
Ulcers.
Yes, at my young age, I didn't know what ulcer is. So I only knew
Young age, that was primary?
Yes, I was in primary school, around class 3,
Class
4.
3.
Yes, class 3, but class 4 is when I came to understand because the problem was increasing. So in class 4, that is when I realized that I'm having a problem. And I used to go to the hospital and I was given Actos as my first medication. Then I was given Algel. From Algel I went to Ranitidine. All that time I used to take myself to the hospital. I went from one medication to the other. But by God's grace I managed, I finished my school. So finally, yes, I remember I got a job. My sister helped me to get a job around here in town, Seasons. And in the process too, I met a man and we got married. The marriage was good at the beginning, but in the process there were a lot of challenges. But we stayed together for almost 8 years to 10 years.
For 10 years now?
Yes, 10 years from the time we knew each other, yeah, to when we got married and had kids. It's around 10 years. And it was not an easy journey. It was challenge after challenge. I even started drinking. I thought maybe if I have fun and drinking.
Do you feel the void?
Yes.
Oh.
So, and also to fit in my husband's shoes. So,
because he was doing so.
Yes, so we used to go together, drink, have fun, come back. But the more I drank, the more the pain increased. So I didn't understand what kind of problem is this that is eating me up. And at the same time, how will I fill this void? Was I a Christian? Yes, I was a Christian. Was I going to church? Yes, I was going to church. Was I praying? Yes, I was praying.
But still you're drinking and all that?
Yes. Wow. So after giving birth to my first child, that is when I stopped. I remember there's a time I drank with my house. That day I almost died. Because when we were drinking, I was drinking because I was bitter. And after drinking, I went to sleep and I woke up and I started vomiting. I remember I also vomited when I was in primary school. So now I'm vomiting again. And in the vomit, I could see blood stains. Wow. So I knew that this problem is advancing. But I never bothered to go to hospital. I don't know why. But I never went to hospital. The only thing I did, it's over-the-counter medication. So anytime I felt the pain,
painkillers that
I
you were
already know.
taking.
Yes, I already know the the medicine
that
that I
you're
used to
supposed
be
to take.
given. So I'll just go for the medicine, take them,
Mm.
and go back. There's a time also when I was staying with my mom, I also almost died because I underwent depression, and I was taken to the hospital, and I was at the same condition. I was vomiting, and that is when I was introduced to this medicine called omeprazole.
Mm.
So omeprazole became a new friend to me. I
Mm.
stopped using the Actons, I stopped using the Algel,
Mm.
the Ranitide. So I started using Omes because I felt better when I took them. But now in marriage, I started taking two instead of taking one.
Oh.
So I'm treating myself.
You're overdose. That's
Yes.
overdose.
Yes, and there's no procedure on medication like this is what you're supposed to take.
Mm.
Uh,
You hadn't gone to the doctor to get
Yes.
prescriptions.
For me, I used to treat myself like I believe that this is just part of me. It's something that I grew up with,
Mm.
so it is just part of me.
Mm.
And after marriage and the challenges that I faced, we end up separating.
Mm.
That was the hardest time for me. After we separated, I took my kids with me, and I stayed at my mother's house. So being in my mother's house was not easy because she was sick.
Mm.
My sister also was sick back then,
Mm.
and I myself was under depression.
Mm.
The only person that I depended on was my mother.
Mm.
Since I was not working, I was a housewife. So all my life I've been depending on my husband to bring everything. So being alone with kids, and I felt like I was new with the environment. Like I've never seeked for a job, I've never seeked any assistant, I've never bothered to get myself a job.
Mm.
So beginning from zero was not an easy thing because already my self-esteem was down.
Mm. You were under depression,
Yes.
a lot of stress. Mm.
So it was not easy. But every time I had issues in my life, I always remembered of a higher being.
Mm. That is God.
Yes. I would go back and pray. I would cry and then go back and pray and ask for help. And every time I asked for help, God would always come in a mysterious way. So my sister came and she was like, "See, go get yourself a job in security industry, nasikia wanaandikana." So in the process ikadelay kidogo, then akanitafutia kazi in one of the hotels around Nairobi West.
Mm.
That place was not good for me because ilikuwa ni bar and I had already left all that.
Mm.
So, and I was still under depression.
Mm.
So I did not even finish a month. I just left the job. I was not comfortable. My mom told me, if you feel you're not okay with the job, it's okay, just let it be.
Mm.
God will still provide.
Provide, yes.
She became a good friend, but I could look at her and see the way she was suffering. And the only thing I wished was I wish I could help her. But you see now, instead of helping her, I become also
Like
a burden.
an added one.
Yes. So it was not easy for me and it was not easy for her. And she walked the journey with me until I got my job in Nation Center.
Mm.
So Nation Center, I was employed by a security firm, and that is how I joined. And after joining, I thank God because for the first time I saw the favor of God. I was taken to the CCTV room, and like the other soldiers, they start from outside.
Outside, yes.
And there's a way they have to learn you so that you are allowed to go inside.
Mm.
So for me, I was just called and I was told, we'll train you. This is what you're going to be doing.
So it is your first time in the security firm, and straight they take you to the
CCTV.
The CCTV. Mm.
And I was puzzled and I was very happy.
Mm.
So I worked there. I believe I worked there for almost 2 to 3 years, just around the farm. And in the process, that is where I met the servant of God, Mom Kezi.
Mm.
I remember the first time he came to our meeting, and she prayed for us. So after she prayed for us, she had a revelation, and she was like, there's somebody here that I feel that has a problem. And she went on talking. I can't remember her words clearly. But after she finished, I also felt it was me, but I was not sure, like, okay,
And you were afraid.
Yes. And remember, I'm this person that was very afraid, and I never liked like sharing all my issues. The only person I had shared with was my boss, the manager back then, who was in charge. So we had talked, and after we finished the meeting, the first thing he told me, I think it is you that the woman of God is talking
referring
about.
to. Yes.
You have to go and see her. So after everybody left, I also left. I'm there at the lift lobby, and I'm like, should I go? Should I stay? And I go, should I stay? And there was a way I was counting, like, should I go? Should I stay? Should I go? Should I go?
Oh, the way you knew that so you were counting, making some people, right?
Yeah, if the last one will be going, then
you'll go.
So the last one was not obvious. Going.
It was not going.
Okay.
Also, it depends the way you start.
Yes.
Okay.
So I said, no, I want to go. But something inside of me was pushing me
to go
see her. So I just gathered my courage and said, okay, because if I don't go again, my boss will be like, did you go?
So following up.
I decided to just go and maybe hear. Or she will tell me and maybe pray for me. And the moment I saw her, I saw peace. I would say that. I just felt like suddenly I found somebody that I was looking for. Somebody who I would talk to, and somebody who would understand me. There are people that we talk to. There are people that we meet in life. And we share our things, but you still feel like there's no help. But from the first time I saw her and after we shared, I felt I was in a safe hand. So I trusted her right from the word go. And we talked, she prayed for me, and I went back to work. All this while, I still had the problem. But now the problem is now increasing, but not very fast. Slowly, in pain, but slowly taking medication. And at the same time, I'm taking overdose.
Well, when was this time that you met her? Was it 20?
That was 2016.
2016.
Yes. So I worked in the farm, knowing her. And in the process now, I began to know God, like who really God is. And I started praying and reading the Word of God and getting the revelation through her help. So for the first time, I understood that I was a sinner, that I was walking and doing things in church, but I was not living as a child of God is ought to live. She also prayed for me. I remember when the church was back then in Nairobi Cinema, and that is when I got my first deliverance. And I felt relieved, like this burden that I've been carrying for a very long time
has been lifted
up. And for the first time, I felt a bit lighter, and I felt home, like I felt a new person. I felt a transformed person. Yes. Even though I was in pain, but this time the pain was not giving me depression or oppressing me, but I felt there was hope.
You felt that void has been filled.
Yes.
Because you knew God now in another way that you couldn't know before.
So, and I grew up knowing God through the help of Mom Kezia and the teachings. And for the first time, my relationship with God went to another level. So I stayed at my mother's house until she went home. But before
They are country now.
Yes, our country. But before she retired, while I was still at work, my husband came back, and he told me, okay, now things have changed. What I did was a mistake, and I've come back to start again. So when he came back, as we were starting a new relationship again, I ended up again being pregnant. And I conceived my last born, that is Nathaniel. And the process began again. Because after I became pregnant, he totally ignored me again. And the words that came out of his mouth, I remember that day when I told him that I'm pregnant, is usinipatie mzigo ambayo sio yangu. That was very hard for me. I'm here at my mother's house. I'm expecting another child.
You know, the husband has now refused to take responsibility of that child again.
Yes. So I was like, where will I begin? How do I explain to my parents? How do I explain to the servant of God that again, Mary, I've gone back
to your husband who had moved on?
Yes. So it was not an easy thing. So I again underwent another depression.
Okay.
And it took me a while, but finally I decided to open up to the woman of God. I told her my issue and what my husband had told me. And for her it was not she was like, no, don't worry. God will take care of you and take care of your child. So again I looked at her like, what is it about this person?
I thought you could condemn me.
Yes,
but it was totally different.
Yes, and I thought that, okay, now she'll be like, you know, when you tell people like you've messed up and they're like, hey, you again went to the same place. You see now, this is a problem with you and all that. But I thank God because she still became the mother again that I needed. Because for my mother, it was not easy for her again, for my sisters. And at some point, I felt like I was deserted again. So again, I started living again my own life. And I went on until I gave birth to my child. And I thank God for the servant of God because she stood with me all the way until I gave birth to my child. So when I conceived my last born, it wasn't an easy journey. Being in security, and at the same time being pregnant and staying at my mother's house, I again underwent into depression. But this time I wasn't so much in depression because for the first time I had somebody to speak to. For the first time I had a family. Beside my mother and my siblings, I had somebody else who was there for me to pray for me. It was like I was shielded. I was under this umbrella of protection that I was sure of. And the more I read the Word of God, I came to understand about forgiveness. And it was a very hard and tough period for me because I could feel in my spirit that God was telling me to forgive my husband and also forgive this other woman that he
your auntie. Also your auntie, I remember also.
Yes, and my auntie too. Me to forgive them was the hardest thing in my life. You know, when somebody is asking you to forgive them and in your spirit you're feeling like these are the people that have messed me. As human beings, we tend to blame people for what we go through, but sometimes it is us ourselves who allow ourselves to go in such process. So I remember there is a time I even opened the Bible and I was reading those in the book of Psalms. There are verses that speak of David, like he's cursing his enemies and praying God to curse them and to bring harm to them. And I felt like the heavens was shut, like there was no response. So the only thing I could hear in my spirit is to forgive. And I got reminded back then when God was warning me about everything that was happening in my life. And I was ignorant. Like the marriage was not the right way from the beginning. My life itself was messed up. So everything that I went into was sin. But I didn't realize that it was sin. So after even talking to the servant of God, she led me to try and forgive them, like to forgive completely. And she taught me about forgiveness, that if you don't forgive, it's like you yourself, you have changed yourself. Maybe these people are forgotten and maybe they were apologetic, and God has allowed them to move on, but you are still in chains.
You're still in chains, you're still in bondage.
Yes. So I had to ask God to forgive them. That was the hardest time in my life. To forgive my enemies was not easy. To forgive this woman, and to also not only to forgive them, but also to pray for them. It was not an easy thing.
And also forget what they did to you.
It wasn't easy. But finally, by the grace of God, I was able to forgive them. And I moved on. So finally, I gave birth to my son, Nathaniel. May God bless him.
Amen.
And God helped me. And I managed all through. I was never sick. You remember I had ulcers?
Yes.
But this time, all through until I gave birth to Nathaniel,
you were never sick.
I never complained of ulcers.
Wow.
Normally when I am pregnant, I always complain. My first child, I gave birth early because of the same problem. My second child, I had to take omeprazole. So she also has a birthmark on her face because of the medication. But for my son Nathaniel, I was very calm and very peaceful. My process was calm with no problem at all. Because I had somebody that prayed for me, somebody that encouraged me, and the backup of my family also helped me to move on. So I thank God for all of them who were there for me at that time. So after giving birth to Nathaniel, and at the age of 1 year, my mom retired, and now I had to move from her house and start living my life again. I thank God because as she was leaving, I got another job. At least it was a bit better job, and I was able to cater
for your children,
for my children, and also to pay rent. It was a bit challenging considering that you're a single mother.
Yeah, sure.
And back then I was a bit dependent on my mother.
Sure.
Now this time I'm alone, me and my children.
That's true.
So when you do the calculations and all that, it's a bit hectic for a single mother. And then somehow I started feeling the pains again. And I went on taking the medication as usual, over-the-counter medication. And that is when my health now started to deteriorate. Yes. I never noticed all this while that my health was deteriorating. Why? Because my life was concentrated so much on my children. So I didn't look at what was happening to my life. So after some time, my mom called and told me, I called my mom and I told her, nowadays I feel like ninapata kizunguzungu.
You feel dizzy?
Yes. I think it is because of the way my son is breastfeeding. So I need to bring my child home for a while so that he may stop breastfeeding. I feel like I get dizzy all the time. And she was okay. She told me, okay, just bring them over and stay with them. So when she took them, after staying with them, she called me and told me, Mary, I'll stay with the children. You stay there at Nairobi, work, and be sending money for school fees and all that.
So the mother was in the upcountry?
Yes.
Okay, but then she had retired, so
yes,
she went back to
yes, so it was easy for me after she said that she's going to take the kids and stay with them. But even at that point, my health again was deteriorating more and more. And I don't know how, but I never noticed. The only thing I knew was over-the-counter medication, and I move on. So I started taking 2 omeprazole in the morning and the evening.
And you're supposed to take 1,
yes.
You mentioned.
So I used to be taking 2. Somebody in the
2 in the morning, 2
yes,
in
2
the
in
evening.
the evening. And even sometime in the middle of the night,
you take
when
another
the
2.
pain increases, I take more.
So,
2 more.
According to prescription, you're supposed to take 1 per
Only
day.
1 per day. Yes.
So you were taking 4.
Yes. And sometimes I'll even take to an extent of 6.
Wow.
Yes. So after and I would go to work and come back, and it reached a point that even eating became a problem to me. I couldn't eat at all. I would eat 1 meal a day. I would take, if it is tea, I would take tea only in the morning with a piece of bread, or I would eat like rice, plain rice without anything, and I would stay like that the whole day until evening. My boss, who I was working with, was very concerned about my health. Every time he came, he was like, "Mary, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm okay. I don't feel anything." Or the only pain that apart from the normal pain that I've been carrying all my life.
You're just okay.
Yes. So I was like, is there anything that is happening outside me that I don't know? So there is this time that there are people who came for, they came to teach us. They were people that handled insurance in our company. So they were teaching people about their health. It's a health insurance. So as they were teaching, they spoke about cancer related to ulcers. For the first time,
you
I
got
was
worried.
struck.
Oh.
Now I came to a point of, could I be suffering from cancer? And the first people that came on my mind were my children. So after that, we were asked if anyone needs to need to be tested for anything, you can just come and we test you. So when I went, the first thing after they took my weight, I've never tried to take my weight. So that time when they took my weight, I was 45 kgs. So 45 with my age, it's contrarily different. And me having my children and all that, they were like, "No, this should not be your weight."
Your weight, yes.
Are you sick, Nihambia? No, I'm not sick, but there is a pain that I normally feel around my stomach.
Constant pain.
Yeah, I used to say ulcers. I don't know what ulcers is, but because I grew up knowing the name ulcers, so I used to say, I guess it is because of the ulcers. I was tested HIV, I was negative. So after that, they told me, you need to go and follow up for your insurance so that we may know how to help you. That was back in September 2019. So after that, that is when now I was looking at myself in a different angle. That is when I noticed that people were also looking at me. People that knew me back then, they were looking at me like, "Oh, something is wrong with Mary."
Something is wrong.
Most of them knew that I was stressed out. Some of them thought that maybe I was affected by HIV or something. You know, people judge you the way they see.
They see, definitely.
Yes. So, and the fear again came into my life again. And I started anticipating the life of how my life would be and how my children's life would be. For the first time, I could feel death. So, after I talked to the company, I felt like the company was not ready to help me. Instead, I was fired. They called me and they talked to me and they told me that I delayed to renew my contract. And I had to go to the HR to renew my contract. So I was puzzled because I didn't know that it is me who is supposed to go to the HR to renew the contract. I thought it is them to call me to renew my contract. But that day after I was fired, I was very calm and peaceful. And I was asking God, where is this calmness and this peace coming from? So I went. That time, I told you that Jesus the Center Ministry under Mom Kezia became a family to me. there was this lady, her name is Grace, and we used to talk a lot. She was working back then in Bahrain. I have never seen her. She has never seen me, but we became very close friends.
By then now.
Yeah. So one day she called me and told me, I feel in my spirit that God is telling me to go back to Kenya immediately. And I kept asking her, why are you coming? What are you coming to do? Why are you quitting your job? It is only a year and a half. You've not even finished. In fact, she had not even finished 2 years. She was beginning her 2nd year. So I was like, don't come back. Work. And she was like, no, Mary, you don't understand.
I have to come.
Yes, I have to come. So again, she called me. She told me, I've been told to pack my things right now and leave tonight and come to Kenya.
All that for. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, viewers. Thank you for continuing to follow up our program. And today's testimony is so amazing. After the break, we will be coming to know more about what happened. Now she's in this condition, which is so deteriorating, and now she's meeting a new friend who is the laborer, one of the laborer of the ministry, Grace. And even the Lord is convicting Grace from the other end to come ASAP, like it was like so urgent. Why? We will know what will happen next. Don't turn off the channel. Stay tuned. God bless you.